Hi, I'm Brett Hess with Business Management Company. We're a local accounting firm here in Frederick, Maryland. And I'm excited about speaking at Startup Grind. We're going to be talking about how your numbers, the numbers that you get out of your accounting systems and that sort of thing, really help you to make great business decisions. So many of us look at accounting or bookkeeping as this necessary evil, and honestly, too many business owners don't even want to spend time working on it. They don't want to put the energy into it. It's sort of like, yeah, it'll connect to my bank and it'll pull something down and that's good enough. And the reality is, if we can get great numbers out of our accounting systems and we can get really good information, we're going to be able to make better and really great business decisions. It's going to help us grow our business and expand our business. It's going to help us understand why we are or aren't making money. Really helps us when we spend marketing dollars as to what marketing processes and programs are working well for us, what advertising channels are working well for us. All that's tied back into our systems and our numbers. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how we take those numbers, how do we format them correctly so that we get good financial statements, what kind of financial statements are of value, and really how to use them then to make those great business decisions. The kind of business decisions that I'm talking about are, let me just give you an example. When we have good systems in place, good bookkeeping systems, we might do a couple different advertising campaigns or marketing campaigns. And traditionally what happens is we kind of go with our gut, right? We look back a year later and we go, well, I think that one was successful because we got a lot of phone calls. But the reality is maybe those phone calls didn't turn into revenue. Whereas the right systems, the right accounting systems, bookkeeping systems, tracking mechanisms will allow us to really track each of those campaigns and find out how many of them turned into real revenue. So that when we're creating invoices in our systems, if we're able to track that back to which campaign led to that revenue, we can go back at the end of the year, at the end of the quarter, and say, all right, how many actual dollars did we create from each of these different campaigns? That's far more valuable than sort of the gut reaction of, well, we got a lot of phone calls from that. We've had sort of different advertising campaigns that create a lot of interest and correspondence and phone calls, but they didn't necessarily turn into revenue, either because the client base that responded to that wasn't the best one for us, or something, or they just didn't spend a lot of money. And so, again, that's just an example of the kind of a great decision, because now going forward, I'm going to say, that's the one that works, right? That's where I want to spend my money. I can track my ROI on that particular piece and make a better decision longer term. Another example might be, just understanding a statement of cash flows. A lot of businesses are looking at a profit and loss, and they're saying, well, my profit and loss says that I have profit, but why don't I have any money in the bank? So a statement of cash flows really helps us understand where our money is. It might be simply a matter of that we're over leveraged, that we're creating profits, but we've borrowed so much money to get to this point that monthly payment is eating up all of our profits. So, that then takes us to a great decision, right? How do we change that? What can we do? Do we need to bring an investor in? Do we need to do something else to change that scenario so that we can hold on to some of that cash flow that's created from our profits? A third example would be, looking at a profit loss and really having a good breakdown of our income and expenses, really understanding our cost of goods, so that when I'm struggling in business and trying to figure out why I'm not maybe creating the profits that I think I should be, if I can separate my cost of goods from my overhead accurately, I'm going to determine, is my issue with volume or pricing, or is my issue that I've simply got too much overhead? Maybe I've got a great margin and I've got a great volume, but I'm paying 10 times the normal market rate for retail space or something. So having a really good understanding of a profit and loss statement, having a great breakdown, having categories that aren't too broad that really get me into the details, is going to help me make great business decisions. I'd like to talk a little bit about this event, and I don't want it to scare people away. It might sound a little nerdy, and boy, we're going to dig into financial statements. It's really not about that at all. I want to kind of step back a little bit and talk about the value of getting good systems in place, getting good financial tracking mechanisms, what sort of things make the most sense, maybe even some different software packages, but also just sort of that 1,000-foot view of what are the financial statements that are going to matter most to us, what do those statements tell us, and what are some of the nuances or details, kind of like, how do we track marketing scenarios and which ones paid off for us within those different financial statements. So this is going to be sort of a surface level. It'll be a lot of fun. I think we'll get to discover some different things about maybe your business that you never even thought of before. It'd be interesting. Many times over the years, I've kind of sat down with someone in front of their QuickBooks, and we just opened up a couple of reports they'd never even opened up before, and it's like the light bulb moment where you go, this is great. I'm getting information that I've been looking for years. It was right there in front of me. Hopefully we'll have some of those moments where we can just kind of aha moments of, hey, this is great. This is the information I've been looking for all along. And so I'm excited about that. What would you want to bring to this event? I think, it wouldn't be a bad idea to bring some of your own financial statements, bring a profit and loss and a balance sheet, a statement of cash flows from your accounting systems if you have that. If you don't, it's okay. You don't need to have that information in front of you. It might be, though, interesting to you as we walk through some of this to look at your own and say, do I have that information? Do I have enough detail in there? As people are asking different questions about their own business, looking at yours and saying, you know what, that's something I'm not even tracking in here. I need to be able to dig a little deeper. So if you bring some statements with you just to have at your disposal, you don't need to share them, but I think it might be valuable to you when we get to this event. So if you're coming to our event, I think there's some questions you might want to have prepared ahead of time. Certainly bring any questions that you have about your numbers, your financial statements, that sort of thing that you'd like to ask. But if you have some questions ahead of time, that'd be great. That would help us prepare a little bit. You can send that information to Startup Grind, and that information will be here on the screen for you. But any kind of questions, as an example, what's the most important financial statement? We get that question all the time. Somebody looking at the balance sheet or the profit and loss. I've got some great answers on that, but you might have some more specific questions. Is it better to look at financial statements on an accrual or a cash basis? These are just some examples of questions you might have, but you may have some very unique to your industry as well. Those are okay. Shoot those questions over to us, and we'll make sure we have some answers for you. I also want to encourage you, if you've had that question, maybe you've always thought about asking your accountant and you were embarrassed to do it. Maybe you don't have an accountant and wish you did. I want you to bring those questions here and feel free to ask them. This is going to be a fun event. There's nothing is out of bounds here. So if you've got a crazy question, dealing with your numbers and your financial statements, and doesn't make sense to track this, or what's the downside of doing this, bring those questions. They're going to be great. It's going to be an opportunity to kind of explore these different things and really find out how we can use numbers to make those better business decisions. You also might have some questions about the value of bookkeeping and tracking, and most of us as business owners, we want to focus on what we do well. This is not something we want to focus on, and so you may have some questions in relation to that. Why does this even matter, and doesn't this stuff happen automatically with QuickBooks or different softwares that are out there? We'll talk about some of that, so I'm excited about that as well.